concept of the tithing system from how the Roman Empire was collecting taxes and the Roman Empire's colonies in the time. So they're the ones who proposed that this system be adopted by the church. So they're known as the Council of Tours. I know people have Google, they can look this up. It's Tours, the Council of Tours, and this was in 567 AD. Now they then, with another council, known as the Third Council of Macon, in 585, further incorporated the tithing into Christianity. This is in recorded history. People should just take a bit of some time to look up the encyclopedia. Even the Britannica has this history in detail. So these guys did this because, not because of the reasons why I would say they're adopted as reasons in justification of the Bible, but they adopted it as a system. And people need to separate between what is law and what is proper astrological interpretation of reality. Because when we don't do that, we risk pitfalls. So this was Roman law. That's what I'm saying. And further, you will read there is an obligation that was then put as a proposed idea as Christianity began to spread across Europe. There was resistance. Just the same way there was resistance with the tax systems, there was resistance. And tithing became obligatory as Christianity spread across Europe. And this was obviously because of the ecclesiastical law that the Roman Empire had enforced in the 6th century. So the Roman Empire was on a show. I want you to look up a king by the name of King Pepin. King P-E-P-P-I-N. King Pepin III penned a letter to a couple of bishops to make tithing obligatory, and this was now in the 7th century. This was now the year 765. So now Christians were now obligated by Roman law. I'm repeating this. The Christians were now obligated by Roman law. But which Christians are we talking about? We're talking about the Roman Empire's occultic Christians that influence what we now know as Christianity in the modern world today. Now, in England, this is a bit much later. You must look up a king by the name of King Mercia. King Mercia. And this is in the 8th century. And the Anglo-Saxon world in the 80s, that's what it was at the time, had an ecclesiastical adoption of this Roman law. And this resulted, obviously, in the English realm in the 9th century adopting this. Pope Innocent III further expands on this. Look it up. Go and look up Pope Innocent III. By this time, Christianity had already spread throughout Western Europe. And through a letter from this Pope to the Archbishop of Canterbury, demanded that individuals pay tithes to the clergy to parish where they attended. Let's move on. As we move on through the dynasties of the Roman Empire, now we move on to the 14th century in history. Pope Gregory. Go and look up Pope Gregory. ownership of tithes. In other words, Pope Gregory concluded that only paid clergy could receive and direct the use of tithes, not lay unpaid Christians. And this was adopted by law in the 14th century. Anyway, I just had to give a sum-up history perspective of where this comes from. In the present-day reality, I'm not going to get into detail of whether, in detail, people defending where it comes from in the Bible, because I have a different understanding of what the Bible is. And I think that the basis of all religions in the world that exist because of an astrological interpretation. And the neglect and disrespect of that astrological interpretation of reality has resulted in the religions we have today. And for that reason, whether a Muslim has to say anything about offerings or sacrificial or sacrifices that predates any recorded book in history, all of that, whether you're talking about 12 tribes of Israel, 12 brothers of Jacob, 12 months of a year, 12 hours in a day, all of that, the intellectuals, and by intellectuals I mean the occultic societies that are responsible for diminishing this information, understand these symbolisms. And until we have respect for astrology, and by astrology I'm not talking about horoscopes, I'm talking until we have respect for what the signs are up there, we will never have a direct translation. So people can come with their own interpretation, because that very Bible people are speaking of, the King James Bible, came from the Lodge of Scone in Scotland. Those were Masons of the Templars of Malta. Anyway, I didn't want to get into that. I just wanted to sum up in my summary that if you're going to defend a position, come from a historic place. Where does it come from? Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Okay. Mr. Pan-African, you got a word for us this Sunday afternoon or evening thereabout, or morning, depending on wherever people are at.
Yeah, brother. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. How you doing? You know, nothing can keep a good man
great.
down.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is a great topic, because I really want to try and get it to. There's this a good friend of mine who's holding a space today at 6:30.
Okay.
It's called Bible Hard Talks, and I would like to appreciate if he someday hosts the same thing, like a Bible quiz, so that we look at that his followers actually read the Bible.
Yeah, no. His Bible Hard Talks are quite interesting. Yeah, I've attended a few. Yeah, I'm sure some. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, but to get to what we are trying to talk about, the tithing issue, you know.
Yeah.
I want to look at it in this kind of a position, like I don't want to dispute if it's there or not in the Bible.
Yeah.
But I want to basically dispute the fact that even if it's there, the use of it amongst Christianity is not true.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think that the use of it amongst what Christianity is today is the inception of it. Because if you look through history, any institution that you wanted to built by the people, what used to happen was that the people should contribute in that kind of institution for that institution to stand. The temple, basically the difference between tax and the difference between tax and what the church calls a tithe is there's no difference between those two things. The church wants to build the institution of a church through tithing. The government wants to build the government through taxation. So it's basically the same thing in my understanding. But what you look at, what the church has done with basically what tithing is that if you look at the book of Acts, the Acts of the disciples, you will understand that Peter then goes in and says that because we are a unit, we are disciples, all of us are disciples, we are teaching you this. Then what you need to do is that you must collect all your money and all of these things and basically invest it in this disciple thing that we are trying to do. To the point that he even puts to death two people, a husband and a wife, for basically stealing the church's money, But then it goes forth. It goes forth in the book of Acts where a few people are going to him and they are asking him, since you mentioned when Musoni and you said that the tithing was reserved for widows and the poor and all of these things, and the only people who had land were the ones who were able to tithe. So he goes in, and then there's a man who goes to him and asks him and says, "You look, we are hearing that in the community the widows have been able to get money, And he says, look, I'm not going to dwell on that because now I've been called to preach. So hire some kind of a council, hire some kind of people that will basically distribute money and make sure that the widows get money." So now, by that understanding, you understand that tithing, for instance, if you look at a pastor like James, I remember his net worth, the last time I looked at it, which was a long time ago, was about 18 million. I don't know if 120 or 80 million. Now, you look at that kind of thing, and you say that in the description of what the book of Acts and the Acts of the Disciple describes, is that it describes tithing as money that you will give to your leader, the one that you say becomes the apostle, but it is not the leader's money, basically, because it comes from the people. So what must be done with that money is that money takes care of the poor amongst you, takes care of the widows who can't take care of themselves, and then takes care of all the people who are in need, and then the leader will prescribe to who basically needs the money, and then he will distribute it in that way. For instance, if you look at, let's say it's a tenth, because we haven't established that. Let's say it's a tenth, Let's say by all of us who live in South Africa contribute a tenth to the poor. You will understand that basically no one will be poor today. Because a tenth for someone who earns 50,000 is 10,000 rand. A tenth for someone who earns 30,000 is it's 5,000 rand for 50,000. The tenth for 30,000 is around 3,000 rand. If you were able to basically get that money to those who need it mostly, instead of giving it to your pastor, who then says that he works for God and basically should be paid by God because he works for God. So, the understanding of biblically, in fact, of giving away tithing has a problem in itself, because what we call tithing today is that we have only took it away to mean that it's money that we must pay to the one who gives us the word, so that he continues giving the word. So I remember when I was young, my father always used to, my father and my mother used to always force me to go to church. They fought with me dearly to wake up every morning and wear this small suit with shoes that didn't fit and all of these things, and I was forced to go there. What my father used to say is that we are giving away this money so that the message must continue, which means that they must feed the pastor so that the word of God should continue, which basically meant that the only person who should be fed, or the one thing that is worried about by Christians, is that the word must continue, but people can go hungry and people can be poor. It's just that we need to give money to the pastor so that he continues preaching the word. Because they always say, we are giving away so that Evangeli harm. We are born Evangeli must reach the end of the world. So that's what we're giving money away for. But if you look at the book of Acts explains very explicitly that it was that you tithe or you give away all your belongings or some of them to the tune that those belongings will take care of the lesser ones amongst you. So even the existence of it through biblical scripture or the existence of it through biblical times doesn't really mean anything, because the interpretation in these here churches that we see today is not the one that was interpreted back then. And now I know that most people will come and say, no, but the pastor and all of these things. No, the pastor should benefit from tithe for whatever, because he must eat as well. But he must be, if you look at the Bible, the pastor should be the least amongst these ones. That's basically being said in the Bible. He must be the least amongst these ones. That's why the king himself, Jesus, chose to be, when they asked him, who is the greatest amongst all? He said, no, the least among you is the greatest. So now the pastor should be to the point that the king himself went and washed his disciples' feet to show them that they are the greater ones, and he told them that they will go in the world and do more than what he has done, So now, in closing, when you look at what tithing has become in the church, and when you look at what preachers or pastors or all these people that we look up to in the community, they are not the least amongst these ones. They are the greatest among these ones. They get all of the money. They become rich. And if you look at Pastor Boucher is facing a case of about 100 million given to him by his followers, So now if you look at that, you look at a situation that says, how do you preach to a hungry person? How do you preach to a poor person? How do you tell a child that hasn't had anything to eat that God is with them? And here you are standing in front of the church representing God with millions, but you can't give them to a person who is poor. So tithing for me, when I'm Musoni, is that yes, people should do it, because in the standing of every other institution or every other organization, there needs to be a contribution from its own people so that the people know that it's their institution. So they are the ones who push the institution. So it's basically, tithing is basically the taxation of the church, which stands at 10%, as most people know it. Although it's not the law or not, but at this time it stands at 10%. The South African government there puts it at 14% to build this kind of institutions that we have. But the difference between the church and the government is that the government will use that 14% or whatever, of X or tax or whatever, to build what South Africa is today, to pay for institutions and municipalities, electricity and all of these SOEs. So I would think that the government does better with the tithes that we give it as a nation than basically the church. Because imagine if our taxation just went to Cyril Ramaphosa to be rich, Imagine if we said that Cyril Ramaphosa is just to stand there and be the president, and then we would give him all our money for him to be the best that he is and to be rich.
Hello, my friend.
And all of these things.
Hello, my friend. Dr. Ba. Hello.
Brother, don't interrupt me, please. I haven't finished. I didn't interrupt you.
I've removed him. It's fine. Yeah.
All right. So what I'm talking about when I'm Musoni is that even if there's no interpretation of tithing in the Bible, even if there's some snippets of tithing in the Bible, even if it's not 10% or 5% or whatever, but the interpretation of what it is today in the church is not the form of the biblical interpretation of what tithing is. Because in the book of Acts, there is a worry with the disciples of Jesus that the widows are going hungry because no one has shared the contributions of tithing with them. So you will find that they knew that the money that should be collected was to be able to give to the people, because they knew that as disciples, they are the smallest amongst these ones who are the greatest. And then they should serve as a people who are lower, which means that they will be greatest in Jesus' name. So yeah, that was my contribution, my brother. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for the rain to come so that I'm killed for what I said, but
I don't think there's anyone that wants to disagree with anything you said there. But yeah, thanks for your contribution. That was Dr. Pan African breaking it down to us. He wanted to come in from a different angle, where he wants to encourage Christians to continue with the tithe, but should take it back to the spirit of Ubuntu, as is given examples in the book of Acts, where even though that was even talking about offerings in general. But so we'll give to Brother Khalil. He's got his hand up, and thereafter I have a bonus question. So before I give to Brother Khalil, just a bit of a recap. The discussion today is, do Christians read the Bible? The Bible quiz will tell. And the first question that was asked was, what are the three main compartments in the Tabernacle of Moses? And question number 2 was, why did Jehovah kill over 50,000 men of Beth Shemesh? And question number 3 was, what lie buried inside the Ark of the Covenant, covered by the mercy seat? And then we came to question number 4, which is, where is the tithe defined in the Bible? What is a tithe? Question number 1, 2, and 3 were answered quite competently, and the one which dragged much longer is the one with the tithe, where people are saying 10%, but nobody's able to show us 10% in the Bible. So yes, Brother Khalil, you may speak, and then I will throw in my bonus question. Brother Khalil.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And to answer your question, do Christians read the Bible? I'm going to say yes and no.
All right.
I listened to two of these two gentlemen previous to me, and what thing that I heard is what I was taught in school. First thing, the astrological element of it. We have not been taught that in church, because if we did, we wouldn't go to church, because we would find out that we are the church. Number two.
Absolutely.
Number two.
Yeah.
The priesthood is the biggest threat since the beginning of human interaction and development. What do I mean by that? In ancient history, it was the priesthood who were the first educators. They looked at the stars, they interpreted it, and they put those stories in allegory. And we are reading a lot of allegory in the Bible, and there's so many different meanings according to where you are in your development. So, just to sum everything up, do we read the Bible? Yes and no. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thanks for your contribution, brother. Coming from a historical basis of religions, the priesthood indeed was a very powerful component of ancient empires, beginning with the Empire of Tassedi in the Sudan, which is the oldest monarch, the oldest empire on earth. Predates Sumeria and ancient Egypt, and they hailed the priesthood even during the height of the ancient Egyptian empire. The two wings of power. The pharaoh could not rule without the priesthood, and in the height of its power, Kemet sourced its priesthood from Nubia or from the Sudan, which was the origin of the Pharaonic Empire. And whenever the priesthood was mighty, the pharaoh was mighty. Hence, when the pharaoh was in good terms with the priesthood, the people, his empire was it stood tall. It was in order. There was no disarray in the empire, and we see the practice among the ancient Egyptians is that when you came into power, you proclaimed your identity by declaring that you are a son of God and a mother of royal blood. The two aspects that strengthened your kingship. So especially if your mother came from the south, from Nubia or Sudan, and it just strengthened your position as a pharaoh, and therefore you could, or if not your mother, then hey, you better off marrying a Sudanese woman, just as Pharaoh Ramesu the second. He Usama Adra Septepen Ra Ramesu Mary Amen, which is his full name, the known as Ramesses. But so Ramesu married. His wife came from the south, and he went back to Nubia to build a great temple for her there. So the priesthood was indeed, as Khalil said, a very, very, very important part, because they would ordain the king and declare to the people that this man is called and anointed by God, and therefore he is a representative of God as king. Therefore, the people would not defy his authority, would not try and think he is illegitimate in any form. So yeah, Brother Edwin, and then I will throw in my bonus question. Brother Edwin.
Brother Musoni, I just want a clarification.
Okay.
Were you looking for tenth in the Bible? Was that the main question? Sorry.
Oh, no.
You can clarify on that.
Oh, no. 10th is in the Bible. But the issue I have is people assuming that 10th is 10%, because mathematically, a 10th is either there's 1 out of 10, 1 over 10, which is 10%, is a 10th, and then also written in this exact same way mathematically, 10th, the 10th of February. If you were to write it in words, you would write TENTH, the 10th of the month. So yeah, that was the question, sir. All right.
So,
Okay.
okay. Let me now just, when you read Deuteronomy 22, honestly,
Yes.
it says thy seed. How can it be an eighth, a tenth of a month? I think it's common. It's common. It's there on your face. It automatically removes the tenth of the th. It's talking of a tenth, which is 1/10, which is also 10 over 100. When you simplify 10 over 100, becomes a tenth, which is 10%.
Okay. How does it rule it out?
Or am I? It's not speaking.
How does it? How does it rule it out? How does a tenth of your seeds? How does that rule it out?
If okay, when it talks, when you read Leviticus, is it Leviticus?
Yeah.
Where it talks, Leviticus 27 verse 30, and all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is of the Lord. It is holy unto the Lord.
Okay.
Okay, honestly, how can it be a tenth of th? When you say it's a tenth of th, it spoils the context completely. How can you have a tenth th of a land? It automatically talks of percentage, 1/10. So
okay, hold on. So when you say what is 10% of a land?
10%. The 10th section of one. Simplify 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. That 10.
No.
Divide it in 10. The 10, one. When you divide it in 10 pieces, one piece is a tenth of it, which is also, you can quantify it in percentage wise as 10%. They're one and the same.
So you give a portion of your land to who? To the Lord.
In that verse, it's clear. The tenth of your the tenth.
Hold on. It's not talking about land. You are misreading. It says. Hold on.
The produce of the land.
Exactly, not the land itself. Yes. So it's speaking about the produce of the land. What doesn't why can't you have a tenth of a produce?
You'll have, when you say a tenth of a produce, automatically you're talking about 10%, which is 1/10.
How is it automatic? How is it automatic? The question, and now here's the thing. And the other question is, remember, if you're gonna draw out a principle in the Bible, if you're gonna talk about 10%, the question is, how is it that a percentage only applies to 10%? But every offering in the Bible comes in numbers, not in percentages. The first fruit shall be holy to the Lord. The firstborn, on the 8th day you shall circumcise the child. The 7th day shall be holy unto the Lord. There's a pattern.
But Muswani,
even when you hold on.
When it says the 8th child from the day he was born.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 8th day of that child.
Yes.
Is when
you circumcise. It's an offering unto the Lord. Yes.
But of the 10th, there's context. Like,
okay, what is the first fruit? What is the first fruit? Now we talk about a giving of the fruit of the land, right? What is the first fruit? Practically, you growing your fruit. What is the first fruit?
Ideally, it talks of the first harvest that you have.
Okay. So you can have, hold on, so you can have a first portion, but you cannot have a 10th portion. That's remember, you saying you are ruling out the whole part of 10th. You said it cannot be. It has to be 10%. But I am showing, wait. I am showing you that you can have a first. If you can have a first, why can't you have a 10th? A second, a third, a fourth. And I am showing you a pattern throughout the Bible. Whenever there's an offering unto the Lord, it comes in first, second, third, like that. Just like the Sabbath day, you give, hold on. You give the seventh day as a gift, as an offering unto the Lord. It's the seventh day. It's not 7% of the week. It's the seventh day. It's the firstborn. It is the the 8th week when the child is born. You circumcise. That's how the offerings. How come all the offerings are in first, second, third, and fourth and fifth, and then suddenly out of nowhere, this one specifically has to be in percentage? But that's not what I am disputing. My point is, you can't show me in the Bible where it says 10%. You cannot.
There's no in the Bible it says 10%.
Exactly. So you are making.
You have to consider the context. When you try to compare the context of the 8th day with the 10th day, you're misapplying things. It says, it's clear when you read on the issue of circumcision, which the Bible says that it's on the 8th day. The 8th day of what? The 8th day of the child. When just read it, it's plain. When you read of the tithe, the 10th part, that 10%. The context is also clear. It's
now, okay, let me show you. Let me show you that the one I'm giving you as an example, right? I can show you in the Bible. It says in Deuteronomy 27, verse 32, and concerning the tithe of the herd, or of the flock, even whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord. So if you have 15 flock, there's a rod. Now, the first one passes under the rod. The second one passes under the rod. The third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, sixth, seventh, eighth, the ninth one passes under the rod. The 10th one you grab. That shall be holy unto the Lord. That is what Leviticus, that one is clear. Oh, wait. Hold on. Wait, let me finish. Wait. It's very explicit in verse 32, right? The 10th one of the ones that pass under the rod. That one, that number 10, you have 15 flock. The 10th one that passes after number 9. You can't take the one in front and say it's 10%. It has to be a specific one, which is number 10. That's in verse 32. At least there it's explicit. I can show it to you. It's explicit. But the 10% part, it's your interpretation. There is nowhere where it says percentages. There are no percentages in the Bible. Everything is in first, fifth. You can read the whole Leviticus. Even when in there's a part that speaks of the fifth, and so everything Yeah, we just don't have 10% until you show it to me. Sorry.
Sorry, let me just use the verse that you've just quoted.
Yeah.
It says clearly that that which passes, I'm paraphrasing, that which passes under the road, the tenth is dedicated to the Lord. Now, if 100 cows pass under the road, how out of 100, how many cows will be dedicated to the Lord?
One.
Of course, 10.
No, it
That's
doesn't
a
say.
10.
It doesn't say every 10th. It says the 10th. It doesn't say every 10th.
The 10th.
No, it doesn't say every
It's
10th.
like,
Listen, it doesn't say
Musoni,
every 10th. It doesn't say every 10th.
Musoni.
It doesn't say every 10th. It does not. The every and 10th makes a difference there. It does not say every 10th. It says the 10th one.
Which Bible version are you using?
That doesn't matter.
No, I'm just asking.
It's King James. Why? Why
Okay.
is there?
King
Is there?
James or
Well, you have the what? The Hebrew one.
no, the King James version.
Yeah, I was reading the King James version. You don't like King James?
Okay.
Okay. So there's no every 10th. It would have said 10% or whatever, but yeah. So, okay. So since we don't have an answer for that, I will go to my bonus question. Okay, so the bonus question, this one should be easy, I think. So we find in the book of Genesis, Adam has 2 children. Don't worry, I'm not gonna ask where Cain got his uncles from. I mean, where Cain got his wife from. I'm not gonna ask that question. So the one that I have here now is Cain and Abel make an offering, right? And Abel's offering is accepted, but Cain's offering is rejected. The question is, why was Cain's offering rejected? I do not want a theological answer. I want a quote from the Bible. Does the Bible tell us why? Why? Why was Cain's offering rejected? Why was Cain's offering rejected? And why did God hate Esau and love Jacob? And all right, we have an hand up from one day. You may speak.
Musoni, before he goes, can you remind me the verse where you are quoting from, please?
We actually done with that one, but it's Leviticus 27. I forgot if it's 30 or 32, one of those, yeah. But yeah, we've moved on from that one. All right. But at least I helped you expand your mind and go and dig for yourself. All right. So the discussion is: do Christians read the Bible? Bible quiz will tell. Question number 1 was: what are the 3 main compartments in the Tabernacle of Moses? Question number 2: why did Jehovah kill over 50,000 men of Beth Shemesh? And then question number 3 was: what lied buried inside the Ark of the Covenant, covered by the mercy seat? And then question number 4 was: where is the tithe defined in the Bible? What is a tithe? Then our last and bonus question is: why did God, Jehovah, reject Cain's offering? Mawande. Talk to us.
Hey, Brother Musoni, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man.
Yeah,
Blessed as much. Thank you so much, Brother Musoni.
it's a
You
pleasure.
know, first thing first, man, thank you so much for opening the space.
Yeah,
Just to, have our mind being tested and
yeah,
our knowledge. We are called by God, to defend the faith. When we read the book of First Peter, chapter 3, verse 15, it says, "Sanctify the Lord God in your heart, and be always ready to give an answer to every man that asks the reason of the hope with meekness and love and
amen,
peace."
amen,
So thank you
amen,
so much, man. Thank you
amen.
so much.
Yeah,
The Christian do read the Bible.
all right.
And I like to encourage my Christian brothers here. If you don't know the answer, it does not mean that you're stupid. It's just that maybe you have not been exposed to that subject, and it is a task that we need to go and then study that subject. So God is wonderful. He revealed the light gradually. So, Brother Musfani, the Bible, as God was given to us, it is a salvific book, a book that is, when you study it, with the influence of Christ, you will see no contradiction. But if you study it as dry as it is, yes, you'll see a lot of contradiction, and it can mess your mind, and you will even hate it in such a way. At that time, you'll read the Old Testament, it will just tell you that Solomon has a lot of concubines, and David had a lot of women, Abraham had 2 wives, and all of that stuff. And then when you come to this side, the New Testament, you've been told about one. You need to have one woman. Now you need to harmonize that, explain that, and then correct that. So, however, coming to the question that is at hand, why did Cain, his sacrifice was rejected by God? As the Bible is the book of, salvific matter that began there in the Garden of Eden. When Adam and Eve sinned against God, it was God who slaughtered the lamb, teaching one thing to Adam and Eve, that since when sin came by you, Adam, now the death has come to this world, and there's a need of a sacrifice. It was the first time ever in the entire life of Adam and Eve to see a lamb slaughtered. And then God, he made a coat out of the skin of that lamb so that they can be covered. And then it was a teaching to them as well that there's a Savior that will come that needs to be crucified and be killed and pour out his blood so that at the end of the day we might be redeemed. So that was the education that was coming from God, and it was given to the offspring, which is Cain and Abel. They knew when they go to do the worship there on the altar of sacrifice, they needed to have this teaching and apply faith of the coming Redeemer, that there's a Redeemer that will come to this world. As they were taking that lamb, slaughtering that lamb, they were showing faith that indeed there's a Redeemer that will come and will die for our sin. Therefore, Cain, what he did, he just, have a worship that seemeth right, a mind that he will wisdom God. He will contradict everything that has been written, has been taught, because he's have the wisdom of the world, and he believes on his wisdom, and that God is just nothing, and that I'll do what I want. I'll never take what the instruction, whatever instruction it may be. He's the one who even blame God and say, the reason why there's even this sin is just because of you. If you haven't created us, we wouldn't have been such a mess. Therefore, he just decided, you know what? I'll just do my things, take the fruits and the vegetables, and then offer that to the Lord. And that was not the kind of sacrifice which God has ordered. Therefore, it was rejected because it does not have any allegory, any shadow that prefigured, that point forward as the components of the sanctuary, as the holy place and the most holy place built by Moses. All that system, it was just showing the way of salvation, how Christ will redeem man. So that's why now Cain was rejected, because of not having faith in the Redeemer that will come. So that's the answer in terms of taking the Bible as salvific matter that will reveal Christ even in the Garden of Eden. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. So it had to basically take a theological breakdown. Because definitely, clearly, well, the Bible doesn't actually say. It only says, if you do right, will you not be accepted? So, but where that, I don't know if there's anyone else that wants to add to that before I conclude on the matter. All right, so it's, do Christians read the Bible? The Bible quiz will tell. And the first question was, what are the three main compartments in the Tabernacle of Moses? Question number 2, why did Jehovah kill over 50,000 men at Beth Shemesh? Question number 3 was, what lied buried inside the Ark of the Covenant covered by the mercy seat? And then question number 4, what is the tithe? Where is the tithe defined in the Bible? What is a tithe? And then number 4 is, why did Jehovah reject Cain's offering? So this basically concludes the quiz for today. In summary, I would like to give my piece, since we've ended. I didn't give any any opinions really throughout the talk. I was just asking questions, and the one question that remains unanswered is whether 10% is found in the Bible, but we have closed that one. Anybody that wants to give us answers, we will have to do it in another session. So thanks Pastor Mawande for your breakdown, and I want to give, as I come from a school of historical thought, and like George, he looks like he's not with us now, the astronomical and historical background of scriptures. So when we look at in the Bible, we have a story, basically the tale of two brothers, and the tale of two brothers begins with Cain and Abel, and then we have Esau and Jacob, and these two are quite related. And what you will find there between these two is that the one that God Jehovah chose are the ones that are shepherds. They are men of flock. So, and even when Abel was a shepherd, he kept a keeper of flock, and so was Jacob. And Esau and Cain, both of them are farmers. The Bible says that Esau is a man of the field, so he too was a farmer. And throughout, basically, the interesting thing about these stories is these are the foundations of all spiritual systems, beginning in Kemet. When we look in ancient Egypt, we have the story of two brothers, which is the oldest story of Asa and Set. Set kills his brother, Asa, out of jealousy, and so on, and eventually in resurrection or reincarnation, his son, born of a virgin mother, comes back to avenge his father's death, and the kingdom then continues in his father's name. So Asa, when we see in Kemet, Asa is a farmer, and Seth is a shepherd. And when we look at the two, the the it's the battle between the two economies, if you really think about it. Farmers and pastoral nomads naturally will be in conflict, and the reason being, pastoral nomads are of the view that the world, uh, the world or the earth belongs to the Lord, and nobody should try and demarcate it, and they should not limit their flock. So if my goats want to eat, they must eat whatever they want to eat. So if you demarcate land and start growing your crops, because pastoral nomads are people that do not settle, they are always on the move. So now when Set killed Asa in Kemet in ancient Egypt, it is the pastoral nomad, it is the shepherd that kills the farmer. So Asa gets killed by Set, but the one that wins the kingdom is Asa, who was slain by his brother, through his son being born of a virgin, coming back to restore his father's kingdom. Then when you come into the Bible, it is who? It is the other way around. It's opposite. It is the farmer that kills the shepherd, and the shepherd is the one that wins the kingdom, because uh, after Cain kills Abel, Cain does not continue the lineage of Adam to the Christ, to the kingdom of the Christ, or of Solomon and David. Solomon and David are descendants of Seth, and it's interesting how it's a Seth who's a child of Adam and Eve, is a shepherd, and you have Seth in ancient Egypt who killed his brother, the shepherd that killed his farmer brother. So so even when you go in the Bible, Joseph tells his brother that do not tell the Pharaoh that you are shepherds, because Egyptians abhor shepherds. They see them as an abomination. Shepherds are an abomination to the Egyptians, which was true. And so he even had to be shaved off, because the farmers are more people that are more groomed, they are more technologists, they believe in managing your future, whereas the shepherds would tell you that that's becoming a slave of the land, and you have no faith. When you have faith, you'll be like the birds. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns. Who sows, reaps, and gathers into barns? It's farmers. So these are these two separate scriptures, the scriptures in ancient Egypt and the Bible. These are people that once lived together and had conflict, and the one group wrote to glorify their culture, and the other one responded with the same, and saying, well, actually, if you're gonna be blessed, the God is not a farmer, he's a shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. And Jesus comes and he is the shepherd. He's not a farmer. So it's hence you see Jacob or Esau is rejected, and Cain. These are farmers. All the farmers in the Bible are rejected. And the children of farmers. Who are the children of farmers? Builders, metallurgists. Because how did you get a metallurgist historically? The first metallurgists they made, the first metallurgical tools were agricultural tools, which the children of farmers invented to improve the technology of farming. And out of that, when you farm, you're going to need to have storage, because you're going to gather and store it in a storage. So you have to build something, and you need to know the seasons. So you need to study the stars and the patterns and know the seasons, and that's how you get astronomy. And then you have the sculpture being born out of there. Hence, you find Nimrod also is rejected because he is a builder, he's a mason. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. Yeah, all right. I think I saw a hand, but I think they disappeared. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for their participation, whether they spoke or whether you spoke or whether you listened. You are all equally contributed to a successful discussion. Do Christians read the Bible quiz. We had an interesting quiz, and I am quite impressed. Based on my expectations, there were some good questions answered, and the only one that was, and for those that were not around when these questions were asked, the first one was, what are the 3 compartments in the Tabernacle of Moses? Question number 2, why did Jehovah kill over 50,000 men of Beth Shemesh? And question number 3 was, what lied buried inside the Ark of the Covenant covered by the mercy seat? Question number 4 is, where is the tithe defined in the Bible? What is the tithe? That one remained unanswered. And then the last one was, why did Jehovah reject the offering of Cain? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much once again. Peace and power, peace and blessings. A very blessed week to everybody. A great week ahead. And wish everybody and their family good health, prosperity, and all things good in life. Peace and love. Away.